Hello folks, this week we saw a new artifact added to the game, the Illusive Mirror. Now it was hyped up early by other content creators because in its pre-leaks it looked very good. However, on release it was immediately changed from what we expected it to be. So if this isn't a lesson immediately for you folks that you shouldn't ever believe leaks until they're added to the game, then now you know. That's why I only ever review content once it's been added to the game, because so much can change on the whim of the devs just changing it moments before it goes live. Either way, we have the Illusive Mirror, and this is an item that gives 25% HP, 75 speed, and 50 energy. So immediately this is an energy artifact allowing you to do an active skill in round 1. Very good. We have similar ones to that such as Magic Source, Demon Bell, and Snowheart. No surprise there. Melodic Strings also falls into that category, although it's also a big major damage dealing artifact as well. Anyway, the main thing that jumps out about this item is its special ability, the Secret Realm of Illusions. At the end of each round, it restores all allies 15 energy. So many people see this as an energy feed artifact. However, let me draw your attention to Demon Bell, which has Energy Outburst. That gives 20 energy and has a further 50% chance to give an additional 10. So this is giving 30 energy potentially, or just 20, to your whole team based on an active skill done by your hero. So first of all, this can trigger in the middle of a round, and secondly, it is higher than the Illusive Mirror. That said though, Illusive Mirror's energy feed is guaranteed. If your hero is crowd controlled and doesn't do an active skill once they're wearing a Demon Bell, you won't get that energy feed, but wearing Illusive Mirror, you are guaranteed to have it, similar to a passive in a hero such as Rogan. Now the benefits to this item don't stop there though. At the beginning of the battle and after every 3 rounds, you will gain 4.5% damage dealt to all allies. Now this is all damage dealt, which means it's additive with previous bonuses your heroes might have to all damage dealt. So relative to the damage they're already doing, it's actually not a 4.5% increase. It will feel like less because it will add to the overall all damage dealt stat. Basically, if you're adding 20% already, taking 100 and adding 20% makes it 120, but adding another 4.5% to that is not giving you 4.5% of 120, it's only giving you 4.5% of the base 100. This results in a slightly less gain than what's actually written. If you understand additive maths, hopefully that makes sense. Either way, the way this works in following rounds is it decreases by a third of that bonus, 1.5 each round, which means at the start of that 3-round window, you have a big increase, and it slowly diminishes over time. So it's not the world's biggest increase, but that does inform how we should be using this artifact. More on that later. As well, it will offset 3% of the enemy's control immunity. This is by no means a huge number, but it's something. I guess overcoming control immunity is one way to allow your control effects to be more consistent. Yes, an artifact such as Ruyi Scepter is far more consistent in this measure, as Ruyi Scepter actually gives you a whopping 30% control immunity offset. So obviously, if you want a hero to have consistent crowd control, it's still better to go with Ruyi Scepter, and that as well offers 75 speed and 25% HP. On top of that, you gain control precision, so Ruyi Scepter, the better artifact here. That said though, this is for all heroes on your team if at least one hero is wearing the Illusive Mirror, so that's nice. And the 2 effects will be doubled, right? That effect to gain damage and that effect to gain control immunity offset is doubled if your hero is equipped with the Illusive Mirror. So the hero wearing the mirror is gaining more control immunity and more all damage dealt. This means, in theory, you could put multiple Illusive Mirrors on your team and have multiple of these benefits stacking up, which is very, very helpful if you need your team to be both fast, aggressive, and have good crowd control. This is a very useful strategy. However, you have to ask yourself, on what exact team are you going to be doing this? Well, a team that wants to be crowd controlling opponents is a team that's going to be using a hero such as Starwing Jara. And Starwing Jara definitely appreciates being able to have as much energy as possible, so energy feeding her with that passive is also really good. The reason that's the case is because she has this ability here on her Noble Sublimation, where if her energy is greater or equal to 200, which is twice as much as normal you'd need for an active skill, she actually inflicts the control effects of her active twice. And this is very, very, very effective. However, Jara gains energy as well whenever somebody uses an active skill. She gets 25 energy. So what you really want is consistent active skills in your team. So yes, you could argue the new artifact is giving you that because it's going to give all your heroes that wear it an active skill in round 1, and then it's going to feed some energy to your team, but it's not as much energy as we'd like. Demon Bell does give far more consistent energy feed and is the better artifact for that reason. 5 Demon Bells is 100 energy, and that's enough for an active skill. It's guaranteed. Heck, most people just use 4 because 4 Demon Bells is still 80 energy, and if 2 of them high roll the 30 energy, that's still going to take you to 100 energy. The point here is that you're going to be able to fully energy feed your team very reliably with 4 Demon Bells. And actually, if you have 5 of them, that's going to energy feed everybody over and over and over and over again, so everyone always does an active skill. No one will do a basic. And for that reason, Demon Bell outclasses the new artifact because the new artifact is only giving 15 energy. So even if you ran 5 heroes with this artifact, you still would not have enough to get to 100 energy, which means you're not getting continuous energy feed. So for that reason, I do not believe the Illusive Mirror is an energy feed artifact. In fact, I would say you'd probably still have to run Demon Bells on a team with Illusive Mirror to still have that reliable energy feed. So for most people, I actually don't think Illusive Mirror is going to make the cut on teams that need energy feed. So we need to think about different ways to use this artifact that aren't defined purely by the fact it gives energy. On top of that, Demon Bell feeds energy mid-round, which is actually really important. Heroes start with 50 energy, so in round 1, if your faster heroes have Demon Bells, they can feed energy to your slower heroes, and the slower heroes still get to do an active skill in round 1. This is really impactful. People can run their 3 fastest heroes with Demon Bells, and their 3 slower heroes with Golden Crowns, and the Golden Crown wearers get all the added protection of a Golden Crown, and still an active skill. Massive difference, and I think that pushes Demon Bell ahead, especially if you're faster than your opponent, because they haven't hit you yet, they haven't crowd controlled you, they haven't disrupted the Demon Bell. And arguably, if your heroes are slower to the point where they're not going to be able to energy feed, and if your opponents are going to smack you really hard in the process of you being slower and potentially kill you, you actually don't want either of these artifacts. You're probably going to want a Golden Crown to allow your good support heroes to live. Illusive Mirror therefore finds itself in an awkward position, where it has to compete with Demon Bell, which is a better energy feeding artifact, and it has to compete with Rui Scepter for crowd control. It is weaker in both of those regards, and when it comes to damage bonuses, Melodic Strings wins, as this gives you attack, holy damage, and 50% all damage dealt in round 1, which slowly diminishes by 10% each round to a minimum of 20%, so you'll still have that 20% damage dealt continuously. That's better than any bonus you're going to get from just a single Illusive Mirror. Therefore, if you're going to use Illusive Mirror, I think your strategy should not be to give this to a hero that needs to have its primary ability for damage or for crowd control, but this is a supporting artifact. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of the times on your team, you have a hero who's your major damage dealer. Typically, they'll wear Melodic Strings or Antler's Cane, sometimes even Punisher of Immortal. As well, you'll have a really important crowd control hero. This could be a Lord of Fear Aspen or a Jara, and they usually wear Rui Scepter. Normally, the other heroes on your team will be wearing something like a Demon Bell to energy feed that whole lineup. And that's the supporting heroes. This could be Freya, Halora, someone like that. Now, if you then switch and decide to give your supporting heroes Illusive Mirror, you get less energy feed. But what you do gain is more consistent crowd control on your crowd control hero. That can be helpful. You also gain better damage on your damage dealer. Again, this can be helpful. And also you're boosting the speed of your support heroes, which can actually push them to be higher speed, which in many cases with heroes like Halora and Freya is super important, because if a hero like Freya does an active skill early, she can give you bonuses like Evolutionary Factor, which is her final passive, to your team before you've even gone. As well, another great thing about having a hero like Halora quicker is Halora puts Abyssal Corruption on opponents, which means they take more critical damage. Her going faster than your damage dealers allows them to gain the benefit of Abyssal Corruption. So yes, this artifact is really good on support heroes. However, We already know that tried and true Demon Bell strategies work really reliably, and it is better for energy feed, and therefore is a more consistent artifact. So I would not go grabbing the new artifact instead of Demon Bell anytime soon, unless evidence proves itself that Illusive Mirror can completely replace Demon Bell. But I am very skeptical that that is the case, because the energy this gives is significantly less than Demon Bell's. And then if you go ahead and look at endgame strategies, where speed really does matter because you want your heroes to be a lot faster than opponents, well, it gets to a point where you just cannot physically be quicker, so that 75 speed won't do very much at all, except for adjust the speed order of your heroes. Now, as I said earlier, allowing your slower heroes to go quicker is really good if you need that to happen, but let's assume you've already got that solved, then this artifact doesn't really come into play. The one use I think this artifact is really going to have for pushing the meta forwards is the all damage dealt bonus given to a hero already wearing melodic strings. Because for every hero with the Illusive Mirror, that's an additional 4.5%. Now that might not seem like a lot, but it does add up in the grand scheme when you are trying to beat something like Seal Land or the lair modes in Force War. Going and fighting those two game modes, you really don't have time for energy feed to come into play, and you really won't get far adding crowns to your heroes, because it's not like Void Campaign where you can survive a few rounds by slapping crowns on your support heroes. Therefore, if you're running just heroes in the team, you can gain that benefit of just giving them an Illusive Mirror, even if they die in round 1 or 2. Now, this is even more important in something like Seal Land, because your team will typically die very quickly in Seal Land, and that's because you probably only have 1 or 2 major heroes for each faction. The other 4 heroes, if you gave them all Illusive Mirror, would benefit the team by just giving your major damage dealer a little bit more damage in round 1. Now, for big burst heroes like Mockman, this is huge, because getting that extra damage is the difference between winning and losing. The same goes for someone like Asmodel or Vulcan. Not quite managing to do enough damage is a real big issue in the lair fights and in Seal Land, so by having this artifact, you can find a difference. Now, does that mean you guys need to be chasing this artifact? Probably not. I would still lean towards getting your Sabruti Scepter, I would lean towards getting your 4 Splendid Demon Bells, I would still get yourself a Melodic Strings. The purpose of the Illusive Mirror is to eke out additional progress where you physically cannot do it in any other way. On your support heroes, there's another artifact you should consider as well. Not just Demon Bell, but Golden Crown. In many fights, such as in Void Campaign, your team just will die before they do an active skill, rendering Demon Bell useless. And if they're dead, you get no energy feed at the end of the round, because your hero is no longer on the battlefield. So where does Golden Crown come into play? Well, it allows your heroes that are support heroes to potentially live, and this is huge. In fact, many Void Campaign clears just result in now just slapping Golden Crowns on every single hero in the lineup, except for your major damage dealer, which will probably even be wearing a gilded purple fan just to gain the damage bonus that it brings. However, if you're just running crowns on everybody, you're doing that for survival, and that's really important. If you look at the Illusive Mirror, it doesn't give you damage reduction or any protection. It's no better, really, than a Splendid Demon Bell. So these two artifacts will still result in you dying, and therefore I don't think Illusive Mirror is going to come into play too much in something like Void Campaign. You might want to stick 1 or 2 in your team, but all you're gaining from that is 9% damage dealt if you run 2 of them on your major damage dealer. Your major damage dealer totally isn't going to be wearing the Illusive Mirror, but even the fact that people are running protective artifacts on home-owned heroes that are inflated by the treasure train really shows you how tough Void Campaign can get. So it's very unlikely that I think Illusive Mirror is going to be a needed artifact for campaign. So as I said, I think the only game modes this is going to come into play are game modes where eking out that little bit of extra damage in round 1 or round 2 actually makes a difference, and that's going to be Seal Land and Fight in Force War. People have managed very easily to clear these game modes, at least to a decent level like Seal Land 25 or maybe even up to 30 if you've got an A tier, without using this artifact. I think this artifact is something that you do not need to pick up straight away. I don't think you need to be getting it anytime soon, especially if you're a free-to-play player, because it's going to be added eventually to chests. It'll be able to be picked up rather easily in the future. Now, there could be some teams out there that are similar to Demon Bell lineups that actually run 2 Demon Bells, maybe 3 Demon Bells, and then 2 Illusive Mirrors, just so you have a mixture of energy feed and damage bonuses. that could work, but again, that relies on you picking up a couple of Illusive Mirrors and already having the Demon Bells to do that in the first place. So I think for most of you, see this artifact as a win more artifact to squeeze out a little bit more progress in those game modes you may already be struggling with. It is by no means a compulsory artifact, and it is something we can just use as another item in our arsenal of tools to help us clear game modes. I know a lot of people were wanting this video where I talk about this artifact. Hopefully I've made things clear with this, and hopefully you guys don't go thinking you need to spend hundreds of bucks to chase this artifact anytime soon. Anyway, folks, if you've got any more questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, and happy idling.